Okay. Hello everyone. Today's video is going to be me talking about the symptoms of testosterone and what actually happens to a person who is taking testosterone. So I have my computer with my little script on it, and we're gonna get into it. Yeah. So there's three main things I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about the physical changes, emotional changes, and I have a small list of sexual changes as well, just because these are sex hormones. It does affect a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So let's get into it. If you can hear the fan, and my car is running still because it's so hot, and I'm wearing a hoodie because I look kind of whack without a hoodie on right now. Like there's just something's off about it, and so the hoodie's staying on. But I'm hot, so my face is gonna be red, and I'm gonna look sweaty, and it's gonna be a thing. But we're gonna push through it together. Okay. Great. Okay. So, the physical changes. The thing about half my sources are about men, or not men. I'm sorry. Are about people born as male taking testosterone because as they age they get low testosterone. But that doesn't mean that sources aren't accurate. It just means I compared more sources. I looked at more just to see make sure everything was accurate. So we're gonna start with the skin. Your skin will get thicker as the longer you take it. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think evolutionary reasons, people with more testosterone have thicker skin because they do more that requires thicker skin. I think in the ancient times when we were all cave people, that's what happened. But anyways, and including with the skin, that also means acne and oil. So when you're taking testosterone, it will increase your acne and oiliness of your skin, because it's kind of like another puberty. You just have so many hormones going on that it just causes a spike in those kinds of things. They're supposed to even out over time, but you'll notice you probably have more than the average person. But yeah, this also includes sweat production. You'll start sweating more and more. And now, that's not like entirely dependent on the testosterone. I know the first time I walked into my high school was the first time I actually sweated, and I haven't stopped sweating since. And that, I hadn't started taking testosterone yet. So that was just a thing of puberty. And my sweat didn't change that much from starting testosterone. I sweat a lot before, I sweat a lot after. So if you don't sweat much before taking testosterone, you'll probably start to sweat more. But if you already sweat a lot, it's not going to be a big change. So, yeah. Then it will take about 1 to 6 months for you to start to see signs of it, for the acne to start really building up, your skin to be getting really oily, sweating more, thicker skin, that kind of thing. And all my sources say it should even out at 1 to 2 years. I am on 2 years now, I think. It still hasn't quite evened out for me, but I'm very different. I had oily skin before. I was very sweaty before. So it's an expectation to still have it once everything evens out. This is reversible. So with some of the things I'm going to talk about today, some of the symptoms are reversible if you want to stop taking testosterone, and some aren't. So some are permanent once you start, and once they appear, they cannot go away. But some are fixable. The skin changes being one of them, with the acne and oil production and sweat production, that will go away if you decide to stop taking testosterone. Then we have hair. We have face and body hair specifically. This will take about 6 to 12 months to start appearing. You'll get an increase in thickness. Your hair will start growing faster and darker. Body hair was a big thing for me. I didn't have a ton of body hair before I started testosterone, and then it really just just appeared out of nowhere. Like, I had so much hair and it never stopped growing. And it goes by in a lot of razors, because I use an electric razor to shave my whole body once every few months, because the hair just grows back so fast and it's so thick that it becomes like a problem. So it's not like an abnormal amount, it's a lot. A lot of people say, like, look to your dad or your brother if you have one, and that'll kind of be what you look like. I would say it's kind of similar. It was definitely, my brother has a ton of hair. He's like a werewolf. And so that was definitely accurate. Sorry, there's security people, and I'm worried. Okay, that was so random. Anyways. But yeah, my brother, like, that was definitely accurate. Like, yeah. So, so the onset is 6 to 12 months. That's when it'll start to appear. I would say that's pretty accurate. And then it says the max is 4 to 5 years. That's when it'll even out. This just means that it'll stop, like, it doesn't mean that the hair will stop growing. It just means the rate at which it grows faster and thicker will stop. So after 4 to 5 years, the rate at which your hair grows, that's what it will be like, kind of, for the rest of your life, until your body naturally starts to degrade over time. This is not reversible. I think what happens is the testosterone, I'm not certain on this is just what I know about skin anatomy and hair anatomy. It can change the shape of the follicle or shaft. I forget which one it is. I forget which one's the hair and which one is where the hair goes. I think the shaft is it. I think it changes the shape of the shaft. That's why some people will say they get, like, curlier hair. Yeah. So I don't know entirely why it's not reversible. I think also it's just like, it's going through puberty, and after you go through normal puberty, your hair changes, and that's you start growing more body hair. You're just going through another puberty, essentially. And that's gonna be a theme through this whole video. You just hear me saying it's basically another puberty, because it is. So then scalp hair loss. This will start to appear at 6 to 12 months. It's definitely, I've definitely started seeing it. I'll be vulnerable here. Hold on, let me make sure. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be vulnerable, and my hair is a little weird right now because my barber cut my hair really short. But I'll show you. It's receding a little bit. Not too bad, really not that bad, but oh, my skin. My skin's going through a lot. Yeah. So this doesn't ever stop. There's no max when this evens out. Once it starts, it doesn't really stop, because the thing with people born as male, once it stops for them, it doesn't stop, because that's just kind of how it works. I'm not entirely sure the reason for it, but male pattern baldness is a very real thing. Yeah, so this is not reversible. It's another just sad thing where it's like, it affects your hair, and after puberty, you know, your hair, it changes a lot. So, and just some notes, it's just, you may not experience full hair loss. It may just be some thinning of the hair. Some people, because it's weird, because the face and body hair, people say it gets thicker, but with the top of your head, it can get thinner. It's weird how that works out, but yeah. Also, people who start taking testosterone later in their life may experience less hair loss. This is just because, like, your hair degrades as you get older, and if you start taking testosterone while you're older, your hair will have had time to really grow that kind of strength, and you've gone, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, you get the point. So increase in muscle mass, this is a big one that people really like. You'll start to see this about 6 to 12 months. It doesn't mean your muscles are just going to get huge. It just means you'll find yourself kind of being able to do more athletically. Like, I remember there was just one day I was in PE class and I could just run. Like, I could just run way easier and better than I used to be able to. Like, it just felt so much easier. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that you're just gonna start getting bulging muscles. It just means that, it just means that like just average exercises may become a little bit easier. You may have to, if you go to the gym and stuff, you'll probably be increasing on weights faster. This does also depend on diet and exercise. If you don't exercise at all and you just eat trash food all day, your muscle mass isn't really going to increase that much. But if you really put in the work to diet and exercise, you will really see big changes. But that would happen even without taking testosterone, honestly. Yeah. So this will max out at 2 to 5 years. That just means the benefits from it will max out. Like, the testosterone it's not going to keep increasing your muscle mass. You have to put in more of your own effort. It was really nice to just have, if you're taking testosterone and just, feel, stronger. But you're not going to feel that way forever. Yeah, so definitely, if you really want to go heavy on that, I would definitely do diet and exercise. This is reversible. So with muscles, they can atrophy and hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, I think I may be getting these mixed up. I'm pretty sure this is right. Hypertrophy is when your muscles get bigger, and atrophy is when your muscles get smaller. So hypertrophy is like you're working out a lot, your muscles, the fibers in your muscles are breaking, but they're growing back stronger. Atrophy is when you're not using your muscles, so they start to kind of die off, and your muscles will get smaller. So that's why it's reversible, because even if you're not taking testosterone or any kind of hormones, your muscle mass can increase and decrease in the same way. This is just kind of a supporting thing. That's also why some gym people use testosterone as a steroid, or they use testosterone is a steroid, but they use it as the drug steroid to increase their muscle mass, because it increases muscle mass. Okay. So then fat redistribution. The thing about people born as females' bodies is there's a very specific evolutionary. There's been a lot of fat around the hips and thigh area. I'm relatively certain it's for baby production, like giving birth. And stuff like that. So, it basically, the fat will kind of even out a little, because you know how people born as female typically have more curvier bodies, and people born as male have pretty straight bodies stereotypically. Someone who's taking testosterone who is born as female, their body will start to even out and become a little more straight. Not a lot, I will say. I think it has a bigger effect in skinnier people who have less fat to redistribute. Those people will have a really, I think, more obvious signs of it, and it'll make a bigger difference. But I think in bigger people with more fat, it will make some changes, but not as much as one would think. So the resting takes about 1 to 6 months. As I said, just a little, you'll just kind of notice a little bit less fat around the hips. Your pant size may go down. I know mine definitely did. And then it'll max out about 2 to 5 years. So it's not that you won't, it's not that, I don't know how to describe it. You can still gain and lose fat. It's just, the testosterone's effect will not affect the testosterone will not affect your fat redistribution. It will not affect your fat anymore. Is what I'm trying to say. So this is reversible. Like I said, you can still, the testosterone doesn't affect your ability to lose and gain fat. It just affects kind of where it goes. So if you stop taking testosterone, your fat will refill around the hips because your estrogen production will increase, and it'll redistribute the fat to your hips. Just some notes. So breast growth will be sort of slowed down. Really not a lot. I think it's only mainly, well, I'm not entirely sure. For me, I think it really didn't do that much in terms of breast growth, but your breast won't stop growing. It'll just kind of slow down. But this obviously, if your breasts have already reached full growth, then you're done. But yeah. So just a few more notes. On top of the redistribution around the hips and thighs and stuff, there'll be more definition in your arms and legs. This is also to do with the increase in muscle mass. And you may gain fat around the abs, around the stomach area, just because if you think about how people born as males' bodies turn out over time, and how people born as females' bodies turn out over time. People born as female, they get a lot of fat around the hips and stuff like that. People born as male get a lot of fat around the stomach. Dad bod, if you've heard of that kind of thing. Yeah. It also, there may be a slightly rougher appearance as fat beneath the skin becomes thinner. This is because of the redistribution. Your fat kind of, there's less of it. Yeah. So you're, I don't know what it means by slightly rougher appearance. I don't know if that means as in you look rough, as in bad, or rough as in like tough and kind of masculine. So I don't know. Anyways, the cessation of menses. This is a term that people love to use. It just means your period stops happening. They like to use big fancy words like cessation of menses. Menses is for menstruation. So yeah, that's, yeah. And cessation just means to stop, but in the big fancy words. So this will you'll start to see this at 2 to 6 months. It will not go away completely to start with. There will be, there's really a lot of ways it can happen. Your periods can become shorter, lighter, or later, but some people experience longer and heavier before they just suddenly stop. There's also spotting. If you know someone who's been through menopause, they will have a lot of experience with this, so definitely talk to them. Because it's very similar in what's going on in your body. Yeah, so there's no max when this stops. When your period stops. It doesn't come back unless you stop taking testosterone. So it is reversible. Once your estrogen levels come back up, you'll start having a period again. Yeah, so for me, it slowed down a lot. It got shorter and lighter and later, but there were some times when it was heavier and I was like, what's going on? So it's very abnormal in the way it stops. If you feel like it's not stopping and you really want it to stop sooner, talk to your doctor. They'll have a better understanding of what's going on. But overall, I just wait it out because they will stop. At least they should, unless there's some things like if you have endometriosis or other kind of things like that, there may be other factors. So I would definitely talk to your doctor about that. There's also can be some discoloration. This is just from me. This isn't from any of my sources. I know that one of my last periods, I hadn't had a period for a few months, and then out of nowhere there was some spotting, and it was purple. It wasn't red like my periods normally were, and that's because of a hormone imbalance. Because taking testosterone, my body, it was confused, and so the blood came out kind of bluish purple. That wasn't anything to be concerned about. It was just a hormone imbalance. So that happens to you too. Talk to your doctor if you're really scared about it, but just know it is. I mean, it's not normal, but in this situation, it's not abnormal. Then we have clitoral enlargement. I'm gonna assume you know what the clitoris is, because you should. My personal opinion is, by the time you start taking testosterone, you should know your anatomy enough to know what's gonna change. That's my hot take. So, anyways, this will start to appear at 3 to 6 months, and max out in 1 to 2 years. So after 1 to 2 years, it will stop growing. I honestly, I'm not going to talk too much about this because it's very personal, but I didn't have a lot of experience with this. I think it really does depend on your, not genetics, but just your body and maybe this, your DNA. I don't know. But it's not anything to be scared of. It's not going to be. I think a lot of people expect to grow like something long enough to be like a full penis. It's not. It's, some people have bigger growth than others. I know. I'm trying not to be too weird about this because it is hard to talk about such a personal thing. But some people will experience more growth than others. That's just a natural thing. Some people have bigger penises than others. That's just how it works. Yeah. So then, this is not reversible. It's one of those things where it's just puberty. It grows. It doesn't. Once it grows, it can't shrink. So it's not like muscles where it will shrink. It's like boobs more, where it will grow, but it can't exactly shrink. I guess that's not true because boobs will shrink. But anyways, you get the point. So vaginal atrophy. This is basically the vaginal canal. It'll start to shrink a little bit. It'll kind of dry up a bit as well, because also with evolution, as people evolve, they evolve to kind of have it be more liquidy and wet in the vaginal canal for when sex happens. It's more comfortable for both parties, and it's easier to make babies, easier to grow the population, easier to not die out as a species. But when you start taking testosterone, it'll kind of dry up a bit and get smaller. You won't really, this isn't really a change you'll experience a lot of. Like, you won't really know what's happening. There may be some discomfort every once in a while, but really nothing crazy. Like, you won't just all of a sudden be like, oh, I've shriveled up. That's not gonna happen. So the sex is at 3 to 6 months. Yeah, I mean, it'll max out in 1 to 2 years, so that means at the 1 to 2 years, it will, it won't get any drier or any smaller. That's just what it'll be until your body naturally degrades. Yeah, so some, sources say different times. The main one I saw was 3 to 6 months. Some people say 3 to 12. Some people say 1 to 6. So this can really happen at any stage. But yeah. So deepening of the voice. This will start to appear at 6 to 12 months. It's very ongoing. It's not just one day your voice is super deep. Your voice will become deeper as time goes on in slow paces. Yeah, so this will max out at 1 to 2 years, so that just means that the changes will stop, and that will kind of be your voice. Again, as your body naturally degrades and moves on, it will change as your body naturally is meant to change. This is not reversible. Another thing which is like, it grows and it's stuck like that, it can't really shrink. So what actually happens is that the vocal cords will thicken. So what makes different pitched voices is the thickness of the vocal cords. So thinner vocal cords can make more high-pitched sounds, and thicker ones can make more low-pitched sounds. I didn't take physics. This is just my basic knowledge of it. So sorry if that's wrong. I'm gonna take physics. I just haven't yet. So not all trans men experience full deepening of the voice. I think a lot of the people refer to this as trans voice. I believe that's what it is. Where it's just not fully deep and it sounds a little strange because it's sort of high pitched but also low pitched. I haven't heard my voice in a while. I always forget what it sounds like. It definitely sounds. Well, hold on. Let's do a live reaction. Here, let me put this. What am I voice? Why can I not type? Okay. I'll just talk about the deepening of the voice, I guess. Here, I'll explain the next part while we're doing this. Okay. So what happens is, okay, my car's on and it's connected to my phone, so it's a little unhappy. Are we okay? Is everyone okay? So what happens is your voice changes quickly. This is what my source says. I don't think it changes that quick, but I also don't have a very good perception of my own voice. So yeah. Voice cracks are very common as through puberty. When your vocal cords are changing shape, it will cause more cracks. Yeah. So personally, I really didn't notice voice change, except for there were a few days where my voice just felt super deep and scratchy, and the sound of my own voice annoyed me. And that's not because I didn't want a deep voice or I didn't like a deep voice. It just felt like I couldn't talk normally. Like it just felt like I had to talk at a low register, and I couldn't just talk like I normally do, which is really hard, and it made kind of those days hard days. Like you just get kind of overstimulated when you hate the sound of your own voice a little bit. And it would only be for a day, maybe once every few months. It was really quite rare. And there are still a few days where it happens where I'm just like, why does my voice sound like that? Where it's just so deep. Because I think I never thought of myself as having... Well, I always thought I had a somewhat deep voice. Like, not super deep, but deeper than the average person born as a female. But, yeah. Okay, let's listen in. Oh, actually, it's connected to my car. Hold on. So what happens is your voice changes quickly. This is what my source says. I don't think it changes that quick, but I also don't have a very good perception of my own voice. The thing is, in my head, my voice is much lower pitched. Like, this is a lot more high pitched than I think my voice sounds. So, yeah. Voice cracks are very common as through puberty. That sounds a little robotic coming through the speakers, but... When your vocal cords are changing shape, it will cause more cracks. Yeah, so personally, I really didn't notice voice change, except for... It's not that bad. It used to be a lot worse, where I thought my voice was super deep, because the perception of my own voice hasn't changed much. It's gotten a little deeper as time has gone on, but not that much. I always thought I had a relatively deep voice to start with. But there were times when I'd, like, listen to myself, and I'd be like, my voice is so high-pitched. Like, I sound so much more high-pitched than I think I do in my head. So, yeah. Bones. We're almost done with the physical changes, I promise. So, bones. Your bones will finish growing, as with puberty. Testosterone can just help finish it off a little bit. And by that, I just mean the epiphyseal joint, if you want a little bone anatomy. Actually, I can show you. Hold on. I have my physio binder. You're not ready for this. Oh my god. Why is this so hard? Okay. Spinal cord. Knee bones. Knee bones. It's not a bone. Here we go. I'm gonna. So this is this is the anatomy of a bone. I don't know which bone this is. This is probably your femur. I think it's a fake bone, TBH. But anyways, if it is a bone, it's your femur. What I'm referring to with the epiphyseal joint is this little red line right here. In your bone, this is also called the growth plate because this is how your bone grows. It'll grow on this plate, and then once your bone is done growing, this plate will fuse up. Yeah. So that's how it grows. I believe there's also one in the bottom. Not 100% certain on that. Anyways, that's your bone anatomy of the day. Didn't you love that? Anyways, actually I have a physio test in 2 days that I need to study for, but instead I'm doing this. So, anyways, there's also be an increase in your red blood cells. Your blood cells, not grow, but form, I guess, in your bones, and testosterone will increase production of that, which can lead to some diseases and cancers. So kind of be careful about that, and whenever you get your blood checked, because when you take testosterone you have to get your blood checked to test your levels. They'll also test your blood cell counts, just to, I think they test that whenever they test anything, but you know. Anyways, I don't have a range for this of when it starts or stops. It's just a thing that happens, but it's not, again, it's not really that big of a thing. You will get taller, I think, if you haven't finished growing, if your epiphyseal joints haven't sealed yet or fused, then you will probably still grow a bit taller. I think I definitely was taller than I was supposed to be. But actually, okay, if we're talking about heights, my doctor's office cannot get my height right because I've shrunk. And I know I've not shrunk, I know I've grown. I'm like 5'7". But they keep on saying, they said I was 5'6", and then they said I was 5'5". That's not true. Anyways, so your kidney and your liver, there's some changes there, nothing crazy, just kind of small stuff that, you know, hormones really affect every part of your body, and so it's hard not to talk about this, all your organs and stuff. There's proteins are made in your kidney, so you may get more proteins. There's no time ranges on this, just because it's not really tested, because it doesn't have a big impact. But just your regular functions, imagine them closer to what a cis males would be, you know, organ wise, heart wise and stuff. The heart's a whole other beast. Testosterone can affect your heart. I don't know specifically how, because it's not kind of a major physical change, but it can affect it. So definitely, your doctor will definitely tell you a lot about that. I look like shit, but we just have to push through. So I forgot to research a certain part, and so it's 8 a.m. on a Sunday, and I'm at the gym. I'm gonna film this before I go in. Basically, I don't know how this didn't come up in my research or what, but there's 2 other physical changes that, at least, that I definitely didn't cover that I should have covered. The first one is smells. I think I did cover this a little bit, actually. And so I'll cut this out if I did cover it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I think I did. Just in case, though. Why is everyone here all of a sudden? I feel like I should go in. So this, with smells, I did 100% cover this. I'm just gonna go over it anyway. So it smells just like the fluids in your body. I think it might have something to do with the pH or something like that. I'll ask my science friend about that because he knows all about pH. But I think, yeah, I think it has to do with pH, and that changes the smell of things. There's moments now where I'll be like so like sweaty and gross, and I'll be like, oh my god, I smell like my brother, and it's a lot to go through. And the second change that I didn't mention is hunger levels. Also, don't know how this didn't come up, but there's do you know the idea that teenage boys just like all they do is eat all day? That's because like once I started taking testosterone, there was just like a pit in my stomach that was never could be full. Like one of the biggest changes was that I was always hungry. Like I never really felt fully full, and it's gotten better over time, but there's still times where I'm like I feel like I just feel like I can't, not in an eating disorder way, just that I can't stop eating just because like I don't feel full, which there is some eating disorder to that, but that's because of my own personal issues. But it really changes your hunger levels a lot. Like when the first few months of taking testosterone, all I could think about was how I was hungry all the time. Like it was painful how hungry I was, because I was eating what I would normally, like the amount of meals or just what I would normally eat, but it just wasn't enough. And so when you're taking testosterone, you really have to eat good food as well, because shitty food, like it's just, the thing is, if you eat a little bit of shitty food, it's not going to make you feel full, so you're just going to keep eating shitty food. But if you eat actual like high protein, healthy meals, it will make you feel full faster. And so it is, you know, annoying having to eat healthy, and I don't eat healthy all the time, but it's better for you. It's a good motivator to eat healthy, because otherwise you just feel like crap all the time. But that's just my personal experience. It could be different for someone else, but that's just like a huge thing that I don't know why wasn't touched on in any of the research I did. But yeah. So, and I don't know if this is like just a teenage boy thing or if it's just my family thing. One day I just like got the urge to eat a whole baguette. And so I went down to the corner store and I bought a baguette and I ate a whole baguette in one sitting. And I don't know if I just did that because I know that my brother used to do that and subconsciously I just picked that up, or if that's actually just a thing that all teenage boys do. Because like, let me get a little snack, a whole baguette. So that was really a big experience. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the gym now. I'm so tired and sick, but gotta get those gains in. Just some final notes on the physical stuff. Your perception of your senses may change. Like sight, taste, feel, stuff like that. Your senses, essentially your sound. And it kind of will feel like you're in a whole new body, but because the changes happen over such a long span of time, you kind of won't notice it that much, because as you grow naturally, you kind of feel like you're in a whole new body, because you know your cells change and you grow as a person. You already feel like a new body, so you won't really notice the change that much. But one day you'll just look back and be like, what the hell? I'm a whole new person. So that's fun. So now we're gonna talk about the emotional stuff. The rest of the stuff isn't as big, doesn't have as much as the physical stuff, because physical is the main changes. Because that's how sex hormones work. They mainly affect your appearance, as well as your ability to make babies. So with your emotional changes, It's kind of the same as puberty, essentially, you know? As in, you'll get mood swings just because your body's experiencing these, a rapid change in emotions or a rapid change in hormones, and there's a lot of hormones in your body, and so you'll get mood swings from it. That's just how it works. That's how puberty works. That's how menopause works. It's just what happens when you have a lot of hormones. A really crazy thing that I read about, and I was so glad I did this research because it really helped me understand some stuff, was you have access to a narrower range of emotions / feelings. This was crazy because there were points when I was taking testosterone where I just started feeling things that I couldn't explain, that I've sort of felt before, but I could explain it then, but I couldn't explain it now. And it's not like you just like forget things, it's that you lose a sense of being in touch with your emotions. Like I've never been very good at articulating my emotions in the first place, but when taking testosterone, it felt like I couldn't talk about what was going on inside me because I wasn't able to. Like I didn't know what was happening. Because some of your sense of emotion are just kind of cut off. Like I would feel like kind of just big feelings that I didn't know what they were, and I couldn't articulate them. And that doesn't really go away. I think as you mature and as you age, you just get better at talking about emotions and recognizing what things are. So I think it gets better in the sense that you mature over time, but it doesn't get better in any medicinal sense. You'll also have different interests and behave differently. Again, that idea of like a whole new person. It's not like you'll all of a sudden stop liking something. It's just you'll grow and adapt. It's very a normal aspect of life. Is you become a whole new person. You mature. You like different things than you used to like. There's not a way to fix this, but therapy is often recommended because it can really help you talk through this. And especially if you get a therapist who kind of specializes in trans people and knows what it's like, they can definitely help you talk about this and talk about having access to less emotions and not being able to talk about your feelings. They can really help out and really talk about a lot of stuff. So, yeah. Now we're going to talk about sexual changes. Again, not really going into a lot of detail, just trying to make sure you know what's going to happen to your body. So your libido will increase. It's very common for, hold on. Men are typically much more sexual people. They just kind of are always, there's that thing of being a teenage boy and just always getting an erection. You kind of have that similar thing when you start taking testosterone, where it's just like anything can kind of, it's easier to get turned on, sort of. You'll get arousal from different body parts or sex acts than you used to before. This ties in just to the idea of a whole new person, new identity, new likes and interests, different behavior. There may be a change in sexuality. Again, new person, new behavior. You may notice different things about yourself. Yeah. I think also with being trans, it's just the concept of sexuality is kind of very weird because your gender identity is so weird that it's hard to be like sexuality on top of that. At least that's for me. I don't know about other people. That's just for me. Now, this source that says that orgasms will feel different, I have a quote from them. Okay? Oh. Ignore that. With perhaps more peak intensity and greater focus on your genitals rather than a whole body experience. So, whatever that means. I'm just trying to give you the information that I have. So, okay. Then just some side notes to end it off. The timings may change depending on different forms of T, but generally the same. And what I mean from that is whether you're taking the patch or the shot or the gel, and also which type of shot you're doing if you are doing one. And there may be some slight differences in physical reaction depending on it, mostly just because of the physical reactions from the form of testosterone, like I talked about in the last video with the skin irritation and stuff like that. I'm doing more specific research on the face and the brain, but I'm saving that for another video. There's a lot of facial changes and not a lot of brain changes, but a lot more emotional changes than I talked about. But I'll go into that in another video, not the next video. The next video is going to be on overdosing and risks and stuff like that, because I think that's more important than face changes. But I will do both. I will do both. Yeah, that's all I have for now. Yeah. So, thank you for watching. Hope you learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot doing this research. It is comforting knowing when something's happening that it's supposed to happen. I think really the hardest part is the periods, because it's so unpredictable, and so there's just no way of knowing what's going on, and no certain way of knowing whether it'll stop or start. Also with doctor's appointments, for general doctor's appointments with your physician, I think because I've been with my doctor my whole life, they know that I've transitioned and they've been a part of my transition. So they still ask, are you having periods? Just because I think that they have to. I think if you start going to a doctor post-transition and they don't know, I don't really know. I think it's also because it's pediatrics and that's something you just have to ask. I'm not really sure. But be prepared. It always makes me a little uncomfortable because they know I'm trans, and I love my doctor so much. There's this one nurse, and she's like, wow, your voice is so amazing. You should be a singer. And I love her so much. She's a light in my life. Anyways. Yeah, so that's all I have for you today. I have to go study for AP tests. Really exciting. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Next video will be soon. Thing about the next video is that it's really currently it's April. May's a really horrible month because I have AP tests the first 2 weeks. And then I have like 1 week where it's chill, and then I have to start studying for finals. So hopefully I have time in that week to really get stuff done. Otherwise, we may have to push this to June. But we'll see. So expect the overdosing video in May. If not, sorry. You know? There's people watching me. Okay. I think I'm gonna go get an iced tea because I still have so much homework to do. Okay. Bye. Have a great day. Go live your life. Yeah.